This is Azar. Welcome to my channel, Azar for Peace. Hope you guys are doing great, and it's pretty early in the morning, and I hope you guys are. Some of you guys are going to work. Some of you guys just started trading as the stock market is going to be open, and some of you guys are doing your regular work, enjoying the day, doing some workouts. So today I'm going to talk about the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine and what's the situation. As some of you guys already know, there is a nuclear threat from Russia that they issued. They kind of like broadcast it in their state television, saying that they will wipe out of Britain using a tsunami, activating the torpedo from the submarine or some tactical nuclear strike. So we want to kind of like try to understand what's their tactic and what's kind of like they will do and how they are doing. As you can see, I'm right on Google right now, and it's giving me some information about how the stuffs are happening. Like if you see, there's some news from New York Times, NBC, like all over the places, CNN, all everybody have some updates, but I was looking on the YouTube and I was looking some videos and I was actually watching the channel from this Sky News Australia. They were kind of like having a conversation with one of our former chief of staff, the military chief of staff, Mr. Jack Kane. He's a four-star general and a Freedom of Medal recipient. The Russians are pretty active. I mean, it's not Russians because we know there are people against of this invasion of Russia and Mr. Putin. So they're not kind of like all in attack against the Ukrainians. So I would not say it's Russian because it's going to be a really bad phrase if I use that word that the Russians. It's not the Russians. I would say it's the Putin. And this guy was kind of like doing great since the Trump administration left, but at the March, he kind of like decided like, okay, I'm gonna have to bring the Soviet Union back and I have to go after Ukraine because they're doing too much because they might join NATO, and I am kind of like get Ukraine like I got Crimea like that, like a twist, and it's gonna be fun. But no, it was not fun. The Ukrainians are showing a great resistance. They're showing their unity against against this invasion, against the invader Putin, and kind of like, you know, Putin is losing the war because there's like so many catastrophe already happened, and there's like so many stuff already happened, and it's kind of like you know it's kind of like showed the world that how weak um, the military is because one of the largest what do I say? One of the largest military equipment provider, military you know big one of the biggest military budget in the history of the world, and one of the most tactical and equipped system. Like if you talk about ballistic, if you talk about cruise, they're the most effective in the history of the you know world like ever happened. Now they're struggling against Ukraine, so you got to understand that this is really weak and this is really kind of like humiliating for them, especially for Putin, because this guy thought it's kind of like really easy. It's going to be really easy, but no, it was not really easy, and he is failing and he is, struggling. That's when uh, he is kind of like using his uh, state television, and he is failing, and that's when he's using his state television and having them broadcast information about nuclear attack and wiping the Great Britain. saying it might be a tsunami kind of attack.
So here's what Mr. Kane was speaking of about the invasion of Ukraine and current situation. He's also have spoken about the Russian tactical stuff and how they kind of like got weakened and the reason behind it. Let's see what he says. And let me also mention that he was speaking with the host from news of the Sky News Australia. I'm sorry, I was struggling a bit. So let's see what he says here.
Well, joining me is General Jack Kean, a retired four-star general, former Vice Chief of Staff of the US Army, and he serves as chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. General Kean, thank you once again for your time. Russia is threatening to use nuclear weapons. Russian state television is even giving viewers opinions to get them used to the idea of nuclear war. How high is the risk?
Well, in terms of using strategic nuclear weapons, I don't believe it's that high, even though they've been communicating something like that on their state television. It's pretty outrageous. I've never seen anything quite like it in my mind since we've had these nuclear weapons. To have a country actually threaten the use of them like that and do it on state television. Look at the United States, Britain, and France. We have a significant strategic nuclear deterrence that would certainly force Russia to think twice with ever using weapons like that, because they would lose their country essentially and most of the people in it. And it would be a human tragedy, certainly of epic proportions, because the United States would be lost and most of Europe as well. So I think something like that is remote. Certainly using a tactical nuclear weapon inside of Ukraine is something they've been brandishing as well. And by the way, they're doing this. They're brandishing nuclear weapons, Andrew, because they are surprised by the unity that the United States and NATO and other countries have had to come to the assistance of Ukraine. And it's not just moral support. It is significant weapons that are being provided, and it is definitely value added, as well as the humanitarian and economic assistance as well. And certainly the sanctions are taking an effect. But I'm convinced the real issue is the fact that we're really helping the Ukrainian military to succeed on the battlefield. If they were talking about using a tactical nuclear weapon, I think that would be a game changer. In my mind, that would bring the United States for sure into the war as a result of that. Not necessarily to use tactical nuclear weapons themselves. I think we would probably withdraw from doing that. But our mission would be to destroy the Russian army in Ukraine, put their fleet at risk in the Mediterranean and the Black Sea, and put three of their three air bases in Syria at risk. So I'm trusting that our administration is talking to the Russians very privately, not as publicly and in detail that I'm suggesting here, to prohibit that kind of reckless use of a tactical nuclear weapon.
I'm hearing you, and you are a rational man thinking rationally. It worries me only that Vladimir Putin has so far wildly underestimated Western resolve, Western response, and he might have painted himself into a corner. Do we know that he's being rational? That's what concerns me.
I agree with you. We have concerns about Mr. Putin in terms of his state of mind, his rationality. We always thought that Putin was somebody that you could actually reason with, although you disagree with him vehemently. But he always seemed to respond to the sense of strength of an adversary had, and certainly always took advantage of an adversary's weakness. And that, I think, is the reason why we're in Ukraine to begin with. I believe he felt, Andrew, that the Biden administration would present them an opportunity to conduct an invasion, and they could get away with, because he didn't expect much response from President Biden based on the history of the past with the Obama administration, and also look at the 4 years under Trump. Regardless of the politics surrounding President Trump, no troops ever showed up on a Ukrainian border for 4 years. 60 days into the Biden administration, there are 70,000 troops on the Ukraine border. And I believe that is because he saw that as opportunity. And he also believed in his mind that he had weakness in the president of the United States.
Yep. I'm gonna stop here, guys. Just add some stuff up. So, whatever he's saying about the Trump administration and the Biden administration, that is true, because as we kind of like noticed, when Trump was in, Mr. The ex-president, he kind of like had everything kind of under control. He had some issues with Iran, and he kind of like had some missile. I mean, some of the stuff, and the Iranians kind of like attacked the base, and there was no catastrophe. There was like no you know uh, other big losses, but there was like pretty, it was kind of like pretty minimal, and it was kind of like pretty you know um quick. And as you know, administration did take off the Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Iranian military. After that, the Iranian government kind of like had those missile attacks at the Iraq bases. Other than that, there was like no more catastrophe and stuff. But um, after the Biden administration came in, Biden administration had our President Biden had the promise that he would withdraw with our soldiers from the Afghanistan, which is really a bad experience for us as all of our um, you know all American people. I mean, it's kind of like some people say it's unnecessary, but some people say it's necessary. But I'm not going to go in that argument. But the way he pulled out of Afghanistan, which is kind of like really, really catastrophic, and really put Afghanistan as a country into trouble, because you don't want to pull out.
Like that. I mean, you have to have a plan to have a swift transition, like how you're gonna you know, put your powers into the local authority and stuff. But pulling out like that, it's really, really kind of like unacceptable. I mean, most of the it's kind of like got a humiliation all over the world, and most of the people, if you talk about the generals, if you talk about the soldiers, if you talk about the our majors, they're not happy about that. I mean, I understand some of them are kind of like, I mean, there are so many people understand this is kind of like a really good thing, this is the best thing that ever happened, but that's puts the our position in jeopardy. So what's going to happen next? So the video I will share about the destruction of the nuclear war will be in the description. You guys are really welcome to see that video. What's going to happen next if the nuclear war begins? It's from a different channel. They kind of like showed the possibility of the nuclear strikes, and there'll be a lot of blood. There'll be a lot of fatalities. There'll be a lot of you know people gonna lose their life. I mean, the whole world will be like, like another Hiroshima or Nagasaki. I hope and I pray that will not happen. Somebody will pull the stuff in from Putin and make him understand that this is not a very good idea.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for helping me to make this kind of content, and let me know if you guys need any correction, if I'm making any mistake in the comment, and please do subscribe. I will try to bring more content like this and let you guys know how these things are and stuffs are happening. Have a nice day. And most importantly, be safe. Take care. Bye bye.